Good evening. Hope all is well with you. I always talk about my spiritual mom or my biological mother. Uh, I want to balance that out. I've never talked about the dads, the good of the masculine. So my legal dad, not my biological father, my legal dad, Jim Wentz. He was a club pro in racquetball. He was considering getting on the pro circuit. And sorry about the dog. And his life took a turn. Him and my mom split up when I was 14. He went to law school, became an attorney. He was bigger than life. He was the life of the party. When he was a defense attorney, cops when they would take their break, like for lunch, they would walk into the court. They would sit in court and watch my dad because he was bigger than life, theatrical. He would get contempt of court at all times. He prided himself on being a Al Pacino type, he was kind of an asshole on purpose, because it was entertaining. It was entertaining, not so entertaining to live under the same roof with him, because he was quite verbally abusive. But all is in the past, all is forgiven. But he died of a heart attack in my mid-20s. So my biological father, Joe Roman, I met him once. He's a great football coach. His dad was on the United States Olympic team for wrestling in the 40s, the year it was boycotted for the war. So I definitely come from athletics. Let's see, who else? Oh, when I became an on fire Pentecostal Christian, the first spiritual dad, the guy that taught me the Bible. So when people say, dude, you're like a walking Bible encyclopedia, that's partly thanks to Wendell White, from Cleveland, Ohio. He was stationed at the Minot Air Force Base, and he was part of our church. And he's the guy that had all the biblical knowledge. He was a walking Bible encyclopedia, and he had the spiritual understanding rather than just a literal. He understood it as a metaphor. So, and I understood it as a metaphor from day one. So the way we interpreted scripture, it came together. It was fire, man. It created a lifelong friendship, lifelong bond. And those are the dads. Apostle Henry Esther. He was well known in the Pentecostal holiness world long before the internet came about. So I've never found anything on him in any archives. But there were, I guess, really the Sharon Brotherhood of the 1950s. You can't find anything about that either, even though that was a massively influential movement in the 1950s, the Sharon Brotherhood. So out of that sprang people like Henry Esther, who founded, after, I guess, 20 or 30 years of being a traveling prophet, he got out of what he called the church world and started his own thing and passed his mantle to Zion Lawrence, my spiritual mother. So I was like his last spiritual son before he passed, 3 years before he died. Apostle Timothy Early, between 2010 and 2013, he and I would go back and forth on on the threads, on his Facebook posts, and as he put it, he would give the apostolic dimension, which is blueprint oriented, and I would give the prophetic dimension, which is birthing, shoot a leather reality version. What it looks like psychologically is the prophetic. What it looks like in the larval stage, in the blueprint or skeletal phase, is more what the apostle is supposed to lay a blueprint that nobody's seen before. So if there are people calling themselves apostles, but they're just reviving the wells, if they're just reviving something old, then that's a mimic. It's a mimic rather than it's an echo rather than a new sound. Even if they think it's a new sound because it's a new level of dedication. So I want to say refinement. If I learned anything from my spiritual fathers, refinement is good, but it's not, even if it's a level of refinement and dedication not seen before, it's still the same thing. And I guarantee you there have been people throughout history that were more dedicated than those of us today in the internet age who are bogged down by social media and other things. Back in the day before internet, we all had time to spend 10 hours a day in prayer. So some of those veterans of the faith are, they really did have something to give. So, yeah, but the good of the masculine is the seed, the apostolic seed, and the good of the prophetic is the emotional. So that's why prophets tend to be dramatic.